like it didn't record or it
Oh yeah,
glitched. Yeah.
or everything is blurry all of a sudden. Yeah, it's great.
And if I could just do like a little 30-second check to make sure that doesn't happen, I think everybody's better for it.
Big fan of QA.
And holy crap, it has been what, like a year or two since we've last chatted?
I think so. Since Last Wardens?
Yeah, yeah. And it's so crazy we're going from Last Wardens to Solar. It's like two completely solar opposites.
Yes. Which I'll be happy to address that, because that is kind of it's a cool thing that we're hoping is going to cause a little bit of a whiplash.
Yeah.
Because like both Eden Frost and The Last Wardens have this like very like dark undertone to them. They are violent, they are very dramatic, and now Stomping Grounds and Solar Sisters are like colorful and wholesome. That is so intentional. You have no idea how intentional.
Yeah, bloody horrific, and then it's like, I think my daughter would probably like this book. All right, we are good. We're not dropping frames. Let me get a sip of the coffee.
Go for it.
It is 1 p.m. EST. Is it 1 for you as well?
It is 10 a.m.
10. Good morning. Good morning.
EST. Yes.
All right.
Beautiful day in Vancouver.
I am good to go as long as you are.
Ready.
All right. Let's begin in 3, 2, 1. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic episode of Keeping It Geekly. It's your Caper Sarah Cody, and we're hanging out with our returning guest, Amit Tishler. We're here to break down Solar Sisters and everything in between. Amit, it's been about 1-2 years since you last been on the show. So much has changed for the both of us. What the hell's been up, man? How have you been?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back. It's awesome to be here and awesome talking to you. Wow. I think a lot of things happened in general in the world.
Yeah, things have kind of gone to shit a little bit.
Yes, a little bit. Honestly, like it's been an insane year, and it's very hard to condense everything into like a short pitch. I think both life and work-wise, a lot have happened. So I'm going to try and hit bullet points. I mean, first off, I've lived in LA for the last 13 years, and just late last year, me and my wife decided to follow an opportunity and move to Vancouver. So now I'm in Canada. So that was the big life change, right? All of a sudden, I started teaching in Vancouver Film School the minute I got here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's been a really unique experience. It's my first time teaching, and I'm teaching writing, specifically for animation and soon graphic novels as well, which is tied more to my general background in entertainment. And as we will discuss here, like I think we talked last time, I think when Last Wardens, the comic series was coming out, shortly after that, it ended up being one of those very cool cross-media experiments that once again is tied to kind of how I've conducted my entire creative philosophy throughout my very bizarre career, from artist to creative director to writer to everything else that I did across, technology, games, and traditional media. So Last Wardens ended up, after the comic came out, we had an audio drama produced by Encyclopocalypse with like Felicia Day and with Anjali Bhimani and Mark Meir. And that was just kind of out of the blue, incredible experience for us. And then we licensed out the IP to do like a Studio for Horizons did a tabletop RPG that came out last year on demand. This year, it's actually hitting stores through Simon & Schuster, because Mad Cave is helping publish it as well. And another book called The Drifter that also Encyclopocalypse is doing. That's kind of a script book of the audio drama. So it ended up just being this massive experiment that started from a very small thing, and we just got the ball rolling. And it really dictated for both Elliot and me something that we wanted to do again in a different way. And this was also tied to just how I like to deal with I guess my own creative career. I like trying different things.
Yeah.
It wasn't obvious from everything I've done to date. Whenever I see something and I'm like, that's interesting, and I've never done it before, I think I might be able to. So I'm going to give it a shot. And that means finding the right partners. It means finding the right business strategy. And it means dealing with a lot of creative challenges that I've never encountered before. And the rewarding part of it is, and I've spent a lot of time just thinking about that. You come out not only with new skills, but also a lot of new connections. You end
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
and you never know where that's going to take you.
And
And
it
solar,
solidifies your brand too, right? Like
oh yeah,
having all this extra media and all this extra like content like around your series, like a lot of creators aren't doing that, I feel.
yeah, because I mean, it's kind of, it's risky, it's difficult, and it requires a slightly different skill set if you're not doing it in a DIY way, which is
Hmm.
totally fine as well. But I think that's also one of the things that even larger publishers are struggling with, because there is a business development component to it. There is a marketing component to it. There is a sales component to it. And then there's the entire creative logistical challenge of doing this. And one of the hardest things, and that's actually the part that I find the most enjoyable, because I'm good at the biz dev part. I do not like it. I do not. But the rewards of it are pretty massive because you do end up working with people that you get to learn a lot from.
Hmm.
So you do end up gaining a lot of cross-industry knowledge that does serve you in the long term, opens new doors in the long term, but it forces you to also look at your own creation through a different lens. Because
Yeah.
I think, as like, obviously I'm a big pop culture media consumer. I quite literally wear it on my sleeve, right, at all times. And I think one of the things that drove this philosophy for me is I was the kid who was like, I'm a huge fan of like Spider-Man and X-Men. Oh my God, there's a new video game coming out. And the crushing feeling when something doesn't feel like it's authentic, when something
Hmm.
doesn't feel like it's part of the same world or the same, let's call it, brand. Like, for a fan, that is a shitty feeling.
Yeah.
But the counter to that, when you play something like South Park Stick of Truth, is so satisfying because you're like, this feels real.
Feels like it's
Like,
ripped out of the world. Yeah.
exactly, this feels like part of the entire package. And I feel like not only, but mostly you will have this kind of scenario when the creative vision does come from or is dictated by the creators first and foremost. Usually that happens far later in the process, but at that point you're far less in control. If you manage to get to that point, you're less in control of your own property, of your own story, of your own creation. If you do it early enough, you are.
Yeah.
Um, but it does mean that you need a lot of partners that have trust in you. And I was lucky enough to have a long career in entertainment and know a lot of people, or be introduced to a lot of people, or have enough credibility
Hmm.
that when I come into an old colleague and say like, hey, I'm about to do this really creative, crazy endeavor. Do, do you feel like joining me on this? And they'll say, yeah, let's do it. So I think that that is something that you have to earn.
Hmm.
And for brands, that's hard in general, right? So I think that's part of what I've been doing in this last year. And Solar Sisters is a really good example of that, where we had to look at this new story, this new world that is very different from everything that we've done before, and figure out, hey, what is the most appropriate way to adapt it into different mediums so that it doesn't feel hacky, so that it doesn't feel like out of nowhere, but also in a way that feels authentic, unique, and interesting. And I do hope that over time, it's something that I'll be able to continue playing with, because it is just incredibly satisfying to do. It's from a production perspective, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it was really awesome how you rolled it out with the last series you did, and kind of like test the waters with it, and then hard launched it with Solar Sisters to kind of get like just everything perfected. Right? Oh man, you gotta love it. Right? Oh man, you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Mm-mm.
And we
We
have my
live in the
moderator
future.
over on Twitch, Oop Crash. Yes, I don't know what it is, guys. We're actually going to be getting a hold of my internet provider and getting a router set up in the computer room, so I have like a 75-foot cord. Just my wife absolutely hates it. Just a 75-foot Ethernet cable running from the living room all the way through the house.
You should just put little like lights on it or something like that, and make it into decoration in the house, or like paint it like a snake. I don't know.
Just wrap some Christmas lights around it. Hey, it's you know, it's adding
Make it
to the
feature, not a bug.
It's a feng shui thing, you know.
There you go. There you go.
All right, so we are good. We are green. We're dropping 0 frames. I'm good to go as long as you are.
That's good.
3, 2, 1. Now, we were talking backstage about being a perfectionist, and I know me myself, I've been trying to roll out things, you know, such as doing like reviews, previews, written interviews, trying to make Keeping It Geekly more of a platform itself instead of just live stream interviews. And I get stun locked by how much planning goes into it, making sure it's perfect right off the rip, because you should just do it right or it's not going to get done. But I'm stuck in that phase where it's like, this needs to be perfect. As a perfectionist yourself, how did you overcome that during setting up all these different projects?
I wish I had a good answer for that. You know what? I guess I do kind of. So I'm in general, and I think part of it does come from managing production as well, not only being on the, hey, I'm taking orders and doing it. Like when you have to run a team, I used to do startup, right? And I was in charge of an entire dev team for many, many years before and after our acquisition. And one of the things that it forces you to do is know how to pick your battles, because not all things are equal, right? When you're facing a problem or a challenge or a bottleneck, there are ones that you're like, okay, if I look at the time and the resources that I have, this is worth solving and I will die on this hill. We will get it done. And some things you just have to let go. So being able to do this kind of prioritization, I feel like in creative fields is so critical, because and I'm always in this duality between, like, I was a production artist for years, then I was also directorial roles and management roles for years. And now I'm in between, right? I'm actually doing both. And one of the things that does to you is that you see both sides of it, but I can definitely say not every hill is worth dying on.
Yeah.
Picking your battles, really important. I think a lot of younger people getting into creative fields really suffer from not being able to do that. And it's a good thing to learn over time. So that is like the baseline. Second is, I am very much against crunch, and I'm very much against burning through things to the finish line.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of doing everything little by little, right? Very, very regimented. You will get more done by doing 1 or 2 pages of a script a day than you would if you just go like, I'm just going to sit around and stay awake until 2 in the morning and I'm going to do 20 pages. Because you know what? Those 20 pages that you did are probably not even close to as good as they would be. Like, you'll go back and you'll have to do a lot of editing and you haven't had time to sit with it or question it or anything like that. You will get a lot more done and it'll be in a much higher quality if you really take your time and do it little by little. If you manage to do that, then you're actually building a schedule that's a lot more diverse, which means you need to train yourself to be able to jump between tasks. But if I'm just kind of like going to throw basic numbers, if 2 hours you work on a script, 2 hours on marketing, 2 hours, and you stick to it, by the end of the week, even though everything is moving slower, it's moving in parallel. By the end of the month, you are done with all of these things at once and you haven't burned out. That's the biggest thing, because I think the idea of the burnout comes from people really exhausting themselves, and it is traumatizing. It's traumatizing both physically and mentally. So then when you have to face another challenge, it creates this like defensive reaction of like, oh God, I know what's coming. I'm going to do this again. And that's not a good pattern to be in. And people just end up, I need to take a mental health break. This kind of stuff is more avoidable if you are very regimented and you also know when to take your free time. It is hard, but it does mean you actually have to hold yourself back a little bit and say, I'm only going to dedicate this much time per week to each thing, knowing you actually need to do the math. Knowing that if I do this consistently and never fail, you don't give yourself a break on that, right? On this regiment, by the end, you will get to the finish line and you'll have less cleanup work to do afterwards. So when you're managing a hydra of a project like that, that is the only way to go. If you're essentially, even if you have partners, you are a one-man operation as far as how you're managing everything around it. That is extremely important, and it is tied to resource management. By the way, tracking software, like not using Gmail and Google Calendar as your reminder, actually adopting. There are
I
so
feel
many good
attacked.
not intentional, but let me tell you, it's a game changer. It is a game changer. If you use CRMs, actually have tasks, right? Like actually have these things all listed and documented, you will spend less time scrambling like, oh, I forgot something last minute. And finally, and this is to anybody in creative fields that have ever dealt with it, procrastination is the devil.
Yep.
Absolutely no. It's better to perform your task in a shitty way and then clean up afterwards than procrastinating it. Like, it is actually better. You will get to the finish line faster and better if you just start.
Yeah, there's this thing where it's like, if you're having trouble just starting, like, and there's people out there without an inside voice in their head. I did not know that was a thing until a couple years ago. But you can, like, inside your head, if you have that voice, you could just be like, go, and just go. And I've been really working that muscle. Another thing I really found is making sure you take a period of break. So, like, not working until you sleep, like making sure you have that hour rest. It might seem counterproductive, but that burnout you talk about, like, you work until you sleep, then you spend the next day recovering, and it throws your whole schedule off.
Yeah. And it also takes away a lot of the creative inspiration. Like,
Yeah.
I make sure that in the end of every day, I want to have time with my wife. I want to have time to relax. I want to have time to rest. And I want to have time to consume media. Because guess what? When I want to create something new and I need inspiration, where do I get it from? Like, I think, and this is a bigger creative statement, a lot of people are always going to feel attacked by everything that I say. That's fine. That's right, America. Come and get me. But and this will go into stomping grounds in a second, which is one of the things that was very important for me and Elliot as part of the statement. And it also partially appears in Solar Sisters. The critique of leaning on nostalgia, the critique of leaning on the past. To me, from, like, as a history buff, that is always just the biggest red flag ever. It's like, this is dangerous, don't do it. But also on a creative front, you always need to keep consuming new things. You need to find new things to love. You can't just, it's okay to every once in a while, oh, I love this, song that I grew up on, or I love this game. But there's always new creative voices coming into the scene, and they are good. I also am of the firm belief that over time, media actually gets better. Yeah. It is true that there is more of it, which also means a lot more garbage. So the extremes are more extreme, right? You have a lot more things that are better than they have ever been in games, in comics, in TV, in everything. But, the dumpster also grows exponentially. But if you're in the mindset of like, oh, things used to be better, and I'm always just going to lean on my comfort food, you're never going to move forward. You're going to feel like a relic, and you're never going to get inspired. So if you're combining that with, like, I don't have time to consume anything because I'm just constantly binging, and then I'm exhausted, so I don't want to do anything. A, you're not getting better work done. B, you're not getting the time you need to actually get stimulated, to actually get interested and inspired to do new things. So often, when I have to develop something new, it comes from me being exposed to something new that triggers this. And I talk to my students about this as well. Positive envy, right? Yeah. The idea of you play something, you watch something, you read something, and it makes you go, damn it, like, I want to do that. I want to do that for other people. Why did they do this before me? And you hate it and you love it. And that inspires you to want to try and do something that feels like that. Which I think for anybody in a creative field, there is no greater feeling. You need to embrace that. And that does mean you need your free time.
Yeah, that drive is essential. And sometimes it can be hard to get it going. Yeah. But, consuming new media, it makes sense, right? If you just consume the same thing over and over, you already know what beat is coming. It's more of a comfort thing as opposed to exploring, something new. And, as things get, that dumpster gets larger, more stories get created. And even though a lot of those beats are, old, where we're used to them, I think there's beauty in that because sometimes someone can take a beat and you're expecting it to hit the same way it normally has, and they do something totally different, and it
Yeah.
blows your mind.
Yeah.
Real quick, we have our good friend Rin West over on YouTube, 100% with this mindset. This is how I operate. I think that was a comment from a few moments ago. But thank you for joining us. We always appreciate seeing friendly faces in the chat. So let's take a trip into space. Last time we had you on the show was for the Last Warden's interview 466, about a year or two ago. And it was bloody. It was gory. It was horrific. And now, we were talking backstage. This Solar Sisters feels like a book that I can give to my daughter.
And please do.
So what inspired you to take a totally different pathway?
So this is tied to it all revolves around the same theme. Like me and Elliot Sproul, who wrote Solar Sisters, and we wrote Last Wardens together, and also Stomping Out. We've a lot of the work, aside from like Ian Frost and some of the new stuff, we've done together. And part of our development process is always driven by things that we want to do, or an idea that we're willing to take and then completely butcher, break down, and rethink a million times to make it work. But it always starts with a certain statement. It always starts with a driver, and it always starts with inspiration to do something. Now, I'm going to go into a logistical thing before I answer the creative part. Solar Sisters is, from all of the publishing deals that we have at play right now, it's the last one that we signed. And Last Wardens was the one before it. Stomping Grounds, that is only going to come out by the end of the year, was our first ever publishing deal in 2021, greenlit by Mark Waid. So this is just here to tell you that the progression, or the chronological order in which things drop into the market, is not necessarily the chronological order in which we have created them. So that already causes a whole bunch of confusion.
Yeah.
So from like, hey, why did we do something like this after? Yes and no, because Stomping Grounds actually came before, and it's a lot more colorful and wholesome as well, right? So the truth is, it wasn't the chronological of like, first we did this, and then, I did Eden Frost, and then we did Last Wardens together, and then we felt, now we need to be optimistic. That's actually not the story. The story is that at every given point, we've always wanted to really diversify the kinds of stories that we do, because, again, tied to the same philosophy, if you just lean in on the one thing you do very, very well, you never challenge yourself. And if you never challenge yourself, your voice kind of gets stale. And I think, regardless of both me and Elliot being in entertainment for a very long time, as creators and as independent creators, not doing things behind the scenes, but upfront, we're pretty evergreen. We're new. Mm-hmm. And we haven't been pigeonholed yet. So why would we? Right? This is the window in which nobody has that expectation or demand. So this is the time to experiment and try different things. So that's just number one from a creative perspective. Number two, it's sometimes just like you have an idea and it would work better for a certain demographic or a certain style than another. A Solar Sisters type story, you could probably, because I am the firm believer that you could adapt anything to anything and any demographic. Like, you can find a way. It doesn't mean it's a good way, but you can find a way. But what is the most appropriate way to execute on a certain story of idea? With Solar Sisters, I can already tell you there was an interesting journey with it. We started by developing it as a middle grade story. And then we were like, we weren't sure exactly where to take it, just connections wise. We didn't see the market as being as viable. And but we saw a lot of YA things happening. So we're like, hey, let's actually try and change, because it was a very malleable concept. And we were like, let's make a YA version of it, right? Let's change a few details, let's adapt it. And we ended up pitching a YA version of it to originally to Mad Cave with Maverick in mind as a YA story. And they came back to us, and Mike Martz was like, we love this. This is awesome. But we have one request, and we want to see if you're open to it. Would you be open for making it as more like a middle grade thing? And we're like, let me show you something. And we just got to show them, this is where we started. So yes, it's already there, right? Mm-hmm. being responsive to opportunities, to buyers, to what the market does is important. And I
Yeah.
feel that's also something I would definitely advise creators to think about. If you have a very clear vision, um, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the best vision. And sometimes it's just better to follow the opportunity if you're confident that the concept itself can work and even benefit from it. So being open-minded to opportunities like that is extremely important. So that's from, again, the business perspective. From a creative perspective, the story started, it always revolved around the same thing, which was the elements. You know what, I'll start by just like pitching it briefly so you know what it is now, and then I'll tell you how we got there. So in its current iteration, Solar Sisters is a graphic novel first and foremost, and then we'll talk about the adaptations as well. But the graphic novel specifically is middle grade. It's our first graphic novel with paper cuts, created by me and Elliot Spurl, my partner in crime, and illustrated by Virginia Salucci, who is incredible talent that I'm trying to push into every project now because she's unbelievable.
These interiors are gorgeous.
Right? And it's her and Julia Zucca who does a lot of the who does all of the coloring for this book. It is probably one of the most beautiful things we've ever done, right? Across the board. And it's a charming sci-fi comedy about a washed-up pop idol that accidentally turns her teenage alien sibling into an interstellar icon in order to save their family's failing moon resort. So that's the let's say the log line of it. And in terms of like tone and vibe, it's kind of like mixing. I don't know if you know the manga Bocchi the Rock. So it's like a little bit of Bocchi the Rock, with a little bit of Mitchell's versus the Machine and a little bit of like K-pop Demon Hunters sprinkled on top. You take all of that, put it in a blender, you basically get something like Solar Sisters. So it's very colorful, it's comedic, but you will still see a lot of the signature, I think what has definitely become my writing signature, and by extension Elliot's as well, where there's a lot of bittersweetness. There is drama. It's not comfort food. It will challenge you. It will put its statement front and center. And I can tell you what that statement is, because I think I talked about this before. Like whenever we develop a story, we always anchor it. And it's even in our old pitch decks, right? Like in a statement, this is the theme. This is what we're trying to say. And whenever you develop every character and every plot point, it always has to be examined under that statement, right? So you have to say, we want to do this. Does it fit what we're actually saying? And if not, then you adjust it, right? So for us, for Solar Sisters specifically, it was finding the balance between fulfillment and sacrifice, right? Which is a theme that anybody working in a creative field struggles with and will struggle with until the day they die. Finding the balance between self-fulfillment and sacrifice. It's comedic, it's emotional, it's funny, it is creative as all hell. It's really one of the best things we've ever done, I think, and we're very proud of it. Now, in terms of where it started, right? It started with we still had the moon as an element, right? Like, hey, colonization on the moon. And the element that was always there, and it's a big component as part of the Solar Sisters universe, is that it's a world where, hey, space colonization started, right? So we're starting to put like stations on the moon and a little bit on Mars, but it's hard because it's far away. And, you know, putting potatoes in the ground, it's more difficult than Matt Damon says it is. But all of a sudden, as development starts and there's this like big boom in, you know, the moon specifically, because it's the closest one, right? We're kind of looking at this happening in real time right now. All of a sudden, this new technology breaks into the scene called the interloop, which changes everything because it's a warp drive, right? It allows you to go from point A to point B. Now you can go from Earth to Pluto in like 2 seconds, right? So all of a sudden, everybody, you know, from an economic standpoint, are going like, who cares about the moon? Let's colonize everything, right? There's like asteroids out there with resources. There's Europa and Titan. They have oh my God. So all of a sudden, it's a very like old Western town idea of just like the mining town is getting abandoned, right? Nobody cares about the moon anymore. It is yesterday's news. when we started this concept, the idea was, and we kept the name, right? Originally, before we called it Solar Sisters, this book was called Lunar Link. And the very, very first proto version of it was, it's a gas station on the moon that is, you're supposed to stop, restock, go. And once
Mhm.
again, once all of a sudden you have like a speedy, like, hey, now you just get to Mars in like a second. Who cares about that gas station? So it's crumbling and nobody cares about it. It's empty the whole time. And the people managing that gas station was supposed to be this like young girl, Phoebe, who's basically like very like just angry and bitter about the fact that she has to do this for the family business while her mom is hustling to make her little space gas station business work right offsite. And her, at the time, alien brother, right? Who nobody knows is an alien, but he kind of lives with that. So that was always there. Now in Solar Sisters, the name Lunar Link stayed, but it is not a gas station. It is essentially a Las Vegas style resort.
Oh, I love that.
Right? So the Lunar Link is a massive resort that is the corniest, cheesiest thing ever. The visual for it was very heavily inspired. I was part of a project in Universal Studios when I was doing like theme park ride work at Pure Imagination Studios. And they sent us to this hotel in Universal Studios, Florida. It was very like, to me, it felt like a scene from Fallout, because it was, I don't remember the name of it. It was like, it's all 50s themed. And the theme of the hotel and the activity and the lights and everything is kept 24/7. And if you have to wake up very early in the morning to work on the theme park, like on site, you wake up at 5 a.m, it's empty, but the 50s music and all this surreal stuff is still playing around and you're there alone.
That would be so creepy.
It is the creepiest. I walk through these like very colorful hallways, like right before sunrise, and I'm like, this is not right. This is liminal space central.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted the Lunar Link to feel like after the Inner Loop came out. Because basically it's Selena, who is Phoebe's mom. In this story now, Phoebe is essentially a Shirley Temple style child star, which added a whole new dimension to her character, right? Selena, her mom, started the Lunar Link, and she's a dreamer. She's got a little bit of a Saul Goodman vibe, where she's just like, snake oil salesman. But she made a big bet. She invested in this massive property on the moon. Everybody mocked her for it, but she's like, nope, this is my dream. I'm gonna do it. My name is a moon name, and so will be my daughter's, and I'm gonna die on this hill. And that ends up working out. Like, it becomes a massive hit because it's the first ever resort off Earth, right? It's got this like massive corny theme. People love it. It's got this like it's got a theme park, and it's crazy, right? And she makes her daughter the icon of the hotel because she's the first ever moon baby, a human child that was born on the lunar surface, right? So that becomes a marketable brand for her. So she turns her daughter into the moon baby and turns her into a child star. So she's a singing, dancing little star, very Shirley Temple-like. And she's like the not shitty version of Carrot Top. I don't know if there's any Carrot Top fans here, but I'm sorry. A shitty Carrot Top style celebrity on the hotel site. So people come there to actually see Phoebe. Like, she's one of the big attractions, her live show, and she's very popular across, Earth and the moon and the new colony in Mars. But as a child star, she's really struggling because she wants her mommy to be proud, but she's anxious. She's got stage fright. She gets panic attacks, and she's trying to hide it. She's just trying to, like power through it. But she's very lonely because being a child star is kind of a lonely nightmare. And one day she gets one of these panic attacks, and she just kind of like runs off. And that's exactly the scene you're seeing here in the middle. She basically runs off, tries to kind of like catch her breath, and she hides from the little maid bot going like, hey, you need to sign signatures. Your fans are waiting. And she ends up falling into underground tunnels underneath the hotel.
Ooh.
And she's stuck there in the dark. There's nobody around. She panics. And all of a sudden, this light comes out of the ground. And she finds this weird glowing egg, right? This bizarre mineral that seems to be reacting to her emotions. And all of a sudden, it cracks. And an alien life form is born out of it that immediately imprints on her, essentially forms itself around the first things that it sees. And that little alien creature becomes her new baby sister, Luna, who is the polar opposite of her in terms of personality. She's like Phoebe is very introverted and kind of like bitter and grumpy, and Luna is like a Labrador retriever. She just loves everybody, wants to be loved by everybody. But in this world, alien life is still just a myth, right? There's no proof of it. So Phoebe and Selena keep Luna safe in the hotel. Nobody can ever know that she's there. And she essentially lives a very lonely life. Now, the minute we establish all of this happening, we immediately cut to like the interloop. Like these are what you're showing right now, the heyday of the Lunar Link. And then by page 10, interloop is introduced and we jump forward. Now Phoebe is 12, Luna is 7, and the Lunar Link is on its last leg. Like they are on the verge of bankruptcy as everybody's abandoned the moon. All the staff is gone. They just have a bunch of maintenance bots that are barely functioning. And Phoebe, as she basically is no longer a child star, those days are far gone. There aren't enough even guests for that. And she had to take on the responsible role of being, her mom is kind of childish, right? And her mom refuses to give up on this dream. Like, we're going to make it work. Like this one guest, there'll be a recurring guest. You'll just see, right? So Phoebe's the only adult here who's actually raising Luna. So she raises Luna and kind of over shelters her because she's very protective. Like the world can't know that this alien is here and this alien is very childish. I will make sure. So it's John Mulaney had this joke about like when you have a 12-year-old watching a 5-year-old, it's like having a horse babysit a dog. So this is the situation they're in. And Phoebe also learns how to just be a mechanic because the hotel is falling apart.
Yeah.
So she's the only one that is mothering her child and babying her sister. So her life is kind of a nightmare that she doesn't know how to escape, but that's just daily life. It's a grind. And one day she finds out that the hotel is on the verge of bankruptcy and her mom was hiding it because she was, and it's a painful moment, right? She's ashamed and she's crying and she doesn't know what to do, right? And Phoebe makes a decision. Like Luna just wants the world to know who she is, but she can't. So this world has like a whole internet of holograms, like the HoloNet. So she goes into school, but essentially with a human avatar. So she can never meet her friends in person. And it's something that she always struggled with. And Phoebe's like, one day, don't worry, we will make it work. But she doesn't really have a plan for it, right? And Phoebe goes, okay, we have to save the hotel. Like they're going to kick us out of here for a week from now. We have to do something. What are we going to do? Well, I used to be a child star. Maybe I can tap into people's nostalgia. Remember for what we talked about before? So maybe we can tap into people's nostalgia and revitalize. Like it'll be the moon baby trying to crowdfund for the hotel. You know, oh, you loved the Lunar Link as a kid. You know, like give us money so we can keep this thing going. So she's, you know, wearing her old uniform that doesn't fit well. She's trying to do the old dance that she really can no longer perform. And her sister Luna is trying to kind of help her. She's behind the camera. And it's like watching somebody you love make a complete fool of themselves in front of the world. And it is heartbreaking and cringy and terrible. And at some point, the feed just kind of like breaks and cuts off. And Luna jumps into the HoloNet to try and fix it. And by accident, ends up showing herself to the entire solar system all at once.
Oh, no.
Every single digital screen and implant and everywhere everybody can see her. And the whole solar system that is now colonized comes to a halt, right? So and you know, she kind of goes like, wait, everybody can see me? It's the best moment in her life, right? And she revels in it. And she's adorable, right? She's adorable proof of alien life. So like, what's better entertainment than that? And she basically does the call out herself. And she goes, hey, you know, on this cutie thing, I live on the Lunar Link and really struggling. So it would be really nice if, because I want to meet you. And instantly the hotel gets overbooked. Just all debts cleared. Everybody goes to the moon, not because they care about the moon, but because they want to meet Luna, right? She's amazing. She's the first alien ever, and she's adorable. So you can already imagine from this setup how each character reacts to it. The mom goes, marketable as hell. Holy crap. here are the plushies. That literally happens. Like, we have Luna plushies already up on the store. And Phoebe's kind of terrified because she's just like, my mom is adopting this too fast. Luna is naive, and she like, but stardom is something that affected me very, very badly, and it could go wrong so fast.
Is there any jealousy between those two, since she kind of lost that fandom and now Luna has it?
So that doesn't happen, but something else does, if you're talking about jealousy. One of the problems with Luna showing herself to the entire world in this way is that in this universe, there is the most popular idol in the solar system, Nova Starr. She's like a this solar system's version of like Taylor Swift, right? Like, everybody knows her, wildly popular, and Nova is living on board the Stargazer. Now, the Stargazer is essentially the next generation of what the Lunar Link used to be. It's a Disney cruise line in space with, again, the same thing, theme park and everything, except they have their own built-in inner loop because they're built by the same company that made it, the same Tesla-like company. So they can literally like take you from Earth. You're spending time in this amazing Disneyland in space, and within an instant, now you're above, the colonies in Neptune, and now you're above Titan, and now like, there is no better attraction. Who cares about some crummy hotel on the moon, right? You're going to take the space cruise, especially because that space cruise has the biggest star. Like, Taylor Swift is living on that space cruise line. So she's the biggest star in the solar system. Luna is a massive fan of hers. She dreams to be like her because all of her songs about empowerment and about like, I'm free to do whatever I want, blah, blah, blah. The minute Luna kind of ends up accidentally hacking with her powers into every feed in the solar system, she also disrupts her big concert and draws all the attention away from the biggest star. And that makes her a target. And without going into where this goes, that is one of the biggest drivers of the plot from that point. This like kind of cunning rivalry between Nova Starr and essentially the entire Dust family, Luna, Phoebe, and Selena, and everything that comes with it that I will not spoil. But that is the crux of the plot. So it is, once again, it talks a lot about stardom. It deals with, the mental health struggles of being a public figure, an influencer, or a star. But it does it in a way that isn't judgmental. It does it in a way that's very much empathetic to what the characters are feeling, why they want the thing they want, or why someone like Phoebe doesn't want this life and isn't jealous of it, but she is protective of her sister who is enjoying this kind of spotlight, but she also knows the darker sides of it. So we're not necessarily making a judgment of the practice itself as much as the kind of person that you need to be, or the kind of choices that you might be driven to or face if you're living this kind of life. So thematically, there's just a lot going on, but it is just light, crazy, poppy, and it's a lot of fun.
And speaking of a lot of fun, there are some awesome adaptations happening with this series. The first of which is going to be the Nova Starr Solar Cyclone,
Correct.
featuring 3 songs. How fun was it working on this EP?
So I'm gonna drop something here without going into too much details because I'm not allowed to yet. But this is one of those examples of a project that so now that I've given you the context of who Nova Starr is in the story and in this universe, this makes a lot of sense, right? Because one of the things that we try to solve is like, what kind of adaptation would be interesting, not to the demographic, not to this world in particular, and the idea of Nova Starr being a real star, right? And actually having songs that relate. The song Solar Cyclone actually appears in the book. The lyrics are written in the book. There's a big performance scene. We even have, for the recording of the actual songs, the voice of Luna doing a duet with Nova Starr, which is something
that's so cool
in the book. So it is very much in line and directed. You can enjoy the entire album without even being aware that it's based on this. But obviously, if you're aware of both, there is a lot of extra value that you get from it, because it does also talk about, Nova Starr is a very interesting character in that she's the antagonist, but not the villain. She's somebody who does have a redemption arc eventually, to some extent. But we wanted to the idea of creating this as a challenge, I've never written song lyrics before, right? So that was the first time. But also, I've never worked in music. I've had some, Last Wardens had an official soundtrack, right? That got distribution through like Warner Music Group and stuff like that. So I've had some connections and experience in the industry. But the truth is, when I went into this one, it was very much the philosophy of like, this would be a cool idea. I know the right people who can help me make this happen. I have no idea where it's going to lead or how the hell we're going to pull this off at scale. Now, I can tell you that we actually we're signing the contract literally this week. We have an actual K-pop idol as the voice of Nova
let's
Starr.
go.
Yes.
Let's go.
We will, the announcement and everything will come in the summer, assuming everything continues going well. She's going to also do some top lining, so she's going to help revise some of the songs. It is kind of a dream scenario that I cannot tell you. Like, it was one of those like, hey, this would be a thing we will try to get. I had no idea. When I told the composer, which is someone, Alon Kaplan, I've worked with him for many, many years on a lot of different projects. He's somebody who just trusts me creatively. So I was like, I have a crazy idea. Do you want to do this? And he was just like, fuck it, let's do it. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it came out amazingly well. And so we have an actual K-pop idol, we have a label, and we have big distribution from Warner Music Group through ADA. So it has become what I hoped that it's going to become. But it was such a bizarre thing to start, because I will be lying if I told you that when we started this project that I was confident that I'll be able to line these things up. I was not. I knew I might be able to, but it was insane. So that's where that came from. And we have a lot of plans for it that we're trying to also include to, I can't say too much. There's a bunch of additions that we want to add to this project to expand it a little bit more. If all continues going according to the schedule that we have right now, in August, we will probably do the announcement that includes all the information about it. There's a reason why with this one in particular, it's been announced, but I've been mostly quiet because there's a lot happening on the back end right now to make this something really, really special.
That's so cool. Like something about music, right, that just really sinks into people, especially the younger audience. Like K-pop Demon Hunter, for example, they I think it was Sony sold them to Netflix, thinking it was going to flop, and then Netflix ended up making hundreds of millions of dollars. Their songs are on the radio. Some of the catchiest things you'll ever hear. I find myself singing along to it even when I'm not listening to it.
Yep. I got exposed because my wife is a fan, right? Like, and she had a whole period of time where she just listened to a lot of it. I'm like, and it has for me, that was one of those creative challenges where, again, I work with a composer that I've worked with for years. So I very much know that he's going to teach me things on the go, and learning the structure, like actually seeing how these songs are broken. It is different from what we're used to. So that to me was incredibly satisfying. Because once again, it's a challenge. I've never written lyrics for a song before. Being faced with learning the skeleton of how these things are built beyond, like, I've directed, like, writing soundtracks for films and for games. Like, I'm well versed in that. Songwriting is a different animal. Songwriting, while referencing a very specific genre that has its own tropes and practices, and that has been fascinating. So again, very creatively satisfying. But it's also been insanely stressful because of everything that got added to it. So yeah, I'm super pumped for this one.
And that'll be dropping October 2nd,
correct,
2026. So stay tuned for it. And that's not all, though. We have Stardom, the Solar Sisters game.
Oh yeah.
This is I love this cover too. I mean, and I love the time skip with the characters, like how you see them kind of getting older. Is this like in a later part of the book, or?
This happens literally after the book, right?
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
So once again, the philosophy, and the same thing with Last Wardens, you do not need to read the book or the EP. You don't need to know anything about Solar Sisters to enjoy this game, because this game is going to tell its own story and it's going to introduce the characters in its own way. If you're a fan, then you kind of know where it's placed in the timeline. If you're not aware, it doesn't really matter, because the game just stands on its own and introduces you to the world in a way that is vital to the game. But in terms of if you're a fan, you'll go, oh yeah, this happens after the story of the main book, right? So just as a background, after we had the licensing deal for the tabletop RPG with Last Wardens, I really wanted to do something that's more like traditional tabletop games. Like, and this one is going to have an entire, like board map and props
Oh,
and
that's
cards.
so cool.
It's gorgeous. And I was looking for partners for this. And when we did a lot of the promotions for the Last Wardens in Emerald City Comic Con, we had, like, me and Elliot were on a bunch of panels there, and we did a signing. And they have a big gaming floor. And I literally wanted us to go down there and see what game developers are active in the area, what they're doing, and trying to identify potential partners. And that's when I ran into Peter Norton from Lycanwood Games. And I don't know if you've ever seen their games. They're so insanely charming. It's exactly what with plushies and with board maps and with props. It is beautiful. And one of the games that they had there literally, triggered the light bulb in my head going, this is actually a good fit with the Solar Sisters universe if you rethink some of the mechanics.
Yeah.
And that's where that started. So of course, we started the conversation. It went on for a very long time. And eventually we made the decision of teaming up on this. With the Last Wardens game, we were not as creatively involved. We wrote all the lore for it, but it was a licensing deal. Studio Far Horizons handled this. This time, I wanted to be directly in it. I wanted to learn how it's done. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to have more of a creative say and just to be hands-on with it because I'm masochistic in this way.
It feels so much better, right?
It is.
When you get a chance to kind of have your own say and have your own means of stepping in and working with your property to make sure it follows your vision.
Yeah. And it's also, again, you learn things you've never known before about, because Peter has experience, right? Like, so he knows everything that you need to know about having a fulfillment center and manufacturing and running Kickstarters for stuff like this, which he has successfully done before. I never wanted to do it unless I'm doing it with a partner that knows what they're doing. So that to me means like I just get to benefit from all of these things. And he has been an amazing partner to work with. So the Stardom game is going to be, it's again for the whole family. It's unbelievably charming. We're right now working on the prototype. It's going to be a follow-up for the book. So our goal is to launch, right now the Kickstarter pre-launch page is already up, so you can start following it, and you should, because the minute we start posting updates, Virginia is going to work with us on all the art for this game. And as you can see from the poster, it is just going to be next level. And it was one of the pillars for us, like not just to leverage the content that we have, but to actually get her. And she's awesome. So she was just like, I'm doing this. Like, so we're working with her on all the artwork. Like I'll do a lot of the UX designs. And we're going to launch the Kickstarter in March 2027 in Emerald City Comic Con.
Let's go.
And we're going to start a lot of the marketing in January. We have a lot of big plans for it, but first step is we need to get that prototype manufactured, tested, sent it to reviewers. Again, this is one of the fun things for me. I get to learn how all of this is done. But production has already started, right? So we're already deep in it and doing playthroughs through Tabletop Simulator, and it's been amazing. So this, I feel like, is going to be both a different vertical for this story to appear in a very unique way and introduce it to new audiences that then will find out about the book. And of course, we'll bundle things together because by that point, we'll have the book and we'll have the EP and we'll have, the game. So we'll be able to make very, very lucrative offerings in terms of like what people will be able to buy. But at its core, this game is going to be really, really special. Without being able to show too much yet, it's very authentic. It is set in the world of Solar Sisters. Everything that I talked about is going to be reflected very strongly, not only in the narrative, but in the mechanics themselves. And it's all about stardom. It's about fighting for the #1 spot on being a star. But when we say star, it means different things to different characters. So if you're Selena, you don't care about being a celebrity. but you care about your new chain of Lunar Link hotels
Mm.
across different moons in the solar system, you want to be the most successful in that. If you're Nova Starr, obviously it means being the #1 idol in the solar system. Like each of them has a different interpretation of what it means to be successful. And that's what this game is about. It's essentially this like ongoing struggle to be the #1, and what it means to you. So that's all I can say about that, but definitely start following it. It's early, but we're going to be more aggressively promoting this like closer to the end of the year after the book comes out and we start publishing more of the actual content from it.
That is so cool. And I love the continuity that's within this universe of this series and the different physical medias that are like coming out from it. You know, you have a 3-song EP that's dropping, a tabletop game, and the book. I think it's so cool to have such immersion within this. So guys, be sure to check out all those links. We dropped a link to the pre-order for Paper Cuts for Solar Sisters Volume 1 from Paper Cuts. Be sure to get your pre-orders in. And let's kind of break out from the cosmos and dive into another Kickstarter, Stomping Grounds, dropping from Humanoids. So this is another awesome story that you have coming out. Can you give us a little bit about this?
Oh yeah, so this is a big one. I cannot stress enough how much I am excited for people to finally see this book, because we've been working on it for a very long time. Like I said, this was the first publishing deal we've ever had, where Mark Waid was the interim publisher, and in Humanoids, he saw this and went like, we're about to do something different. Let's go. So I'm going to give you once again the synopsis of it, the kind of comparables to give you an idea, and you'll see why I'm very excited about it. So in essence, Stomping Grounds, it tells the story of an atypical family that struggles to get by in their crumbling, nostalgia-driven, high-tech city in a world that's been terraformed by a shower of interstellar seed pods and giant alien monsters. Now, the way we pitched it to Humanoids is we called it Bob's Burgers meets Pacific Rim.
I love it.
That was, and it always got a reaction, because it's just like, even if you have no idea of what that would look like, you're like, okay, I need to see what this is.
Yeah, that scratches like a certain itch I never knew like existed.
Exactly. And you know, the development of it actually started from that. Like me and Elliot were working on, hey, we want to come up with a concept that talks about nostalgia. Like we wanted to say something about the sitcom formula, about comfort food. This goes back to the beginning of our conversation, right? And Elliot has been working for the last, I think at this point, decade. He's been on the Bob's Burgers team and Great North and Central Park, like, because we're originally animators. We started working together on like HBO's Animals and then Camp WWE. He's been in the Fox animation family for a long time. And we had a lot to say and think about when it came to our own vision of those kinds of sitcoms where things always reset and they're kind of comfort food, right? That's what makes them very appealing. Like every week you're going to spend time with these characters and things are kind of going to just reset, and you come in and you know exactly what to expect. It never rocks the boat.
Yeah.
And we like rocking the boat. So we're trying to think of like, how do we take this formula, say something about, you know, we're not criticizing the formula, but saying something about the dangers of nostalgia. So the theme of Stomping Grounds from the beginning was always about embracing change, the importance of embracing change and not being afraid of embracing something that's new and different. So what it ended up being is that we were like, okay, let's take Bob's Burgers as our starting point. How do we take Bob's Burgers and punch it in the face in a way that creates this interesting fusion? And Elliot was like, all right, I'm just going to make a bunch of these like comp, you know, like this meets this. I'm going to send them your way. And if we like one of them, we'll start figuring out what it is. Now, I can tell you, I don't even remember what else was on that list. And I don't care. Like the minute I saw Bob's Burgers meets Pacific Rim, I was just like, Elliot, I don't care. Just,
I'm in.
All of it, throw the garbage. We're doing this. We don't know what this is yet, but we're going to find out. That's literally where it started. Now, more accurately, I would say it's kind of like Bob's Burgers meets Pacific Rim or Futurama meets BioShock. Make of
God, can you sell it any better? Like,
it is madness, right? It is character-driven sci-fi, and it is wholesome, and it is emotional, and it is somber, but it is a light-hearted story that talks about the theme of embracing change, right? And what this is about, first I'll start with the structure, because we've done a few things with it that we've never really done before or since, which is we took the idea of, sitcoms are episodic. Now, in TV formats, you have episodic, you have linear, like, serialized, and then you have the in-between, which is like episodic with like standalones, but with tent poles. And one of the things that we wanted to do with this book, because it's a big hefty little book, right? It's like almost like 140 pages, I think. And instead of treating it as just Solar Systems, is almost like a feature film. It's one big story, right? Stomping Grounds tells 3 different standalone stories that kind of prove to you why, in this world in particular, things cannot just reset or stay static. And that was part of the entire idea of Stomping Grounds, where I'll give you the setup, right? So we have this family called the Shin family with Norman, who's a mechanic. He's an engineer that works on the big robots protecting the city. You have Kay, his teenage daughter, who's very like Lisa Simpson, like goody, wants to be like, she buys into the whole propaganda of the city being the best place on earth. And little Z, who's kind of like your Bart Simpson. He's a total, but really bad rebel. Like, he's just chaos incarnate, right? And they're living in a place called Century City. This is where the BioShock Infinite themes kind of come in. In this world, we had, everything was kicked off by this event called the Fermi Fall, which, if you're aware of the Fermi paradox, to dumb it down, it's like, hey, if the universe has existed for this long, we kind of know that life takes this long to get from point A to point B. Where is everybody, right? That's the dumbest version of explaining the Fermi Fall. And our joke was like, what if it happens all at once? You just, all the aliens dropping to Earth all at the same time.
That's so good. I love it.
So we're kind of like, we're never explicit. We're hinting at it in the story. We're never explicitly saying, but our idea was like, some solar system way out there, billions of years ago, exploded, and before everything blew up, they essentially created these seed pods with everything there, biomatter, plant life, like seeds essentially of life on this solar system. They all blasted it out to the universe, kind of like Superman on the pod, going, hopefully one day some of these will land somewhere, and our whatever was our life can live on elsewhere. And this giant shower all falls in one day onto Earth, essentially. Just all these seed pods. And immediately when they drop, they start terraforming everything. So Earth, within days, just new alien forests, giant kaiju monsters, alien lizards, like everything is just spinning out of control. And civilization doesn't know how to respond to this, right? So essentially you have a total collapse of human civilization that nobody knows how to stop. And people freak out. Now we follow Norman and at the time his wife Ruby essentially running away as this like giant alien forest is getting like formed around them in San Francisco. And they end up finding, in their desperation, shelter, where this big complex run by a guy called Rufus M. Bolden, who's a big tech titan who has a big campus in Silicon Valley. He basically goes, guys, I have shelter for you. You come into my campus. We're going to build a city here. We're going to put walls around it. And in this Century City, we're going to maintain the idyllic vision of the peak of humanity, right? In this bubble is the only place where the old world will survive forever, the greatest of the greatest. I am very aware about how this aged, by the way, and I am not happy about it, because this was written years ago. So the idea is he essentially creates Century City as a bubble, right? Like, we're going to celebrate the best humanity has ever been, everything that is the old world, and we're going to shun out anything that's new. So the world outside is crazy and dangerous. Stay away from it. But here, perfection. Only the best of the best that humanity's ever had. Which already seems pretty unsustainable. Now, Century City isn't like, it's not like Judge Dredd's, like walled city.
Yeah.
Because what they're trying, it kind of is, except for if you're trying to convince people that this is the idyllic vision of what humanity should be like and always has been, you're bullshitting, right? You're making shit up. You're nostalgia driven. So the place kind of feels like the World's Fair. That's how we kind of described it. It's got this like fancy facade and all of it. It's full of propaganda that kind of overly romanticizes a nostalgic, idyllic vision of what humanity used to be like in its heyday. But it's nonsense. It's dribble, right? And if you live in the city, you're constantly fed fear, right? Like about what's outside. Well, you never want to step outside the walls because, oh my God. And you get proof of it, right? Because every once in a while, a giant monster will fly into the city, and the giant Centurion robots that protect the city, that of course Rufus M. Bolden has invented with his company, they're there to, you know, punch the aliens straight out of the city and protect everybody's lives. Hooray, right? So this is the world where our characters live in. But they're not heroes. They're just people trying to survive everyday life as this bubble slowly crumbles around them, right? And every character sits on a spectrum of how much they buy into the vision of what the city is selling. And that's actually one of the most interesting things about these character journeys. Now, when I say over time, you cannot maintain this like, you know, like comfort food facade, that's what I mean. So every day when things happen, things don't reset because some things are just being put in motion. And the story structure itself tries to maintain that structure and can't. And we're doing it very intentionally, where the tentpole plot keeps moving things forward while the characters are just trying to hold on or push out, depending on where they are in that spectrum. So on that spectrum, Lena King, who's like she's Norman's new girlfriend. She's a pilot for the Centurions, right? So she's the hero of the city, right? She was rewarded growing up in Century City. She was saved as a kid, and she feels like, well, I became a superstar. I know I'm fighting these giant aliens, so I know I'm protecting everybody. She was rewarded by this reality, so she buys into it, right? Not out of malice, not out of narcissism. It just has proven true for her, right? Then you have Norman, someone who is the average person. He's very nostalgic. He's like, oh, I grew up on all of these things and they gave me comfort back in the day. And I'm a single dad just trying to wrangle my crazy kids around in this world where every once in a while an alien gets punched and acid falls from the sky because of its blood. Like, I need something to give me comfort. And the idea in my head of what the world was before gives me that. But I'm not totally buying all of this nonsense. I just like to kind of believe that things were better back then. That's where he is. Then you have Kay, his daughter, who's the goody two-shoes. She wants, like when people are talking about in the city, you are the ideal Centurion, you are the ideal human, you need to be X, Y, and Z. She wants to be that because she's the good kid and she always does the right thing. But here's the thing. As the world gets terraformed, everything within the city moves slower because it is in a bubble. But that's one of the things we're actually trying to say. It's inevitable. So people are mutating because everything is evolving and changing constantly. And the city's hiding it because they're supposed to sell you on like, no, here everything is static. But so mutants are very much scrutinized. Like if you ever see a mutant, report to the authorities. It needs to be thrown out outside the walls. And all of a sudden, during her teenage years, she's going through changes. And those changes are literally telling her, no matter what I do, I will never be this ideal. Something is wrong with me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Which is terrible. It's a terrible way to grow and it messes with your heads. But it's the world that you have admired and that you thought you would be part of literally telling you, you don't belong and it's out of your control. Something is wrong with you. Once again, we didn't think it would age the way that it did. I don't know what to say about that. But,
you know, and real quick too, I don't love that she's going through that. I love the themes that you have in your stories. Every story that you have is so deeply impactful. And there's so much emotion, just like raw, like emotion and feeling, just in the description alone. And that's what I love so much about your creative work and journeys. Like everything, like you're giving 110% in, and there's no holes to fill. It feels like everything is so lived in.
Thank you. I think we said something about this before, where you you have to be your own work's biggest fan. Because if you're not, why would anybody else care?
Mm-hmm.
So I really do feel like whenever me and Elliot, or me alone, like whenever you generate anything, you have to care about it more than anybody ever would. You have to love it and believe in it more than anybody ever would, because it is your creation. You have to be the first fan before anybody else knows it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so that's where Stomping Grounds is coming from. And once again, on the spectrum, you also have you have Z, who's the kid who basically looks at, he's the rebellious kid. He's the opposite of K. So he looks at the outside and goes, "Oh, that looks awesome. Like I want to see the monsters, and I want to see the aliens, and I'm just curious because I don't believe anything they're telling me. It all seems bullshit." So, and you have Jingles, who's an alien who literally grew up in Century City. He was born inside, so he's kind of this experiment where, like, you're working for us, but we're going to remind you every day. One wrong step and you're done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the cast you're dealing with. They're all on this like very wide spectrum that, once again, when you look at the theme of embracing change, you can see how this setting is going to affect each and every one of them as the walls literally and figuratively crumble around them. So that's the setup for Stomping Grounds. The Kickstarter is literally, they're going to start promoting it, I think, tomorrow or in the next couple of days. Right now, the page is up, and soon it's going to be filled with like the trailer and everything. They're literally working on this right now. It's going to launch April. It's going to be this Tuesday, so April 21st. So April 21st, all the way to May 13th. The book is already done, so this is a pre-order campaign, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be bundled up with Kaiju Heart, which is another book about kaijus and giant monsters that's very different from ours, as you've heard from the description. Like in a funny way, like Stomping Grounds presents itself like it's about monsters and kaijus and robots. It is so not. Right? Background. And we actually make that as a joke in the book, where it's happening in the background. Like you're just going on shopping, and all of a sudden you see a giant battle.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, kids, let's just go over there, open your umbrellas, because we're about to get like acid rain coming in. Like that's how you're living your life. So that's how we're kind of subverting also that genre and this like sitcom genre, both at the same time. But it is funny, and it's wholesome, and it is very, very thoughtful. And if you've noticed, I've mentioned a few characters that I deliberately didn't go into more detail about, but they're gonna make an impact in this story and its statement as you go in. So I am so excited about people seeing this one, because it is so unique.
Yeah, I really love the logo too. I love how it's, stomping ground. It's all cracked up. You have like mushrooms growing, and then the alien eye. And I don't know if this is like a vine or tentacle, but dude, this logo is so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that was Humanoid's graphic designer, and we wanted it to incorporate all of these elements of, once again, the walls cracking because the world from outside is just breaking in, which is the theme of the entire story.
Mm-hmm.
This is inevitable, so you may as well embrace it, because it's not necessarily bad. Just stop pushing, right? So that's where a lot of this came from. And Sarah Stern is our artist, and she did such a lovely job, because it has a very Bob's Burgers-y look, because that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of like skin it to look like these very comfortable, cozy stories, maintain some of that vibe, but also let you know throughout the story that you're just pretending things aren't crazy right now, because they are.
No, I love that. So, man, what a beautiful sit down. It's been a couple years in the making. I'm happy we can get you back on. Talk about Solar Sisters, Stomping Ground, and everything in between. And you've been on the show before. You know the drill. We love wrapping things up with a piece of advice and then what you're up to outside of creating. And I think the biggest piece of advice I could ask from you would be something about themes. So for the aspiring writer out there struggling to add theme to their work, add any level of depth, surrounding that, as someone who is just nailing it and hitting it out of the park, what would be your biggest piece of advice to help them, get that started successfully?
That's a really good question. I think here's what I would say. First of all, you have to embrace your own opinions. If there, you have to start from something you actually care about. Like I think the mistake a lot of people make very intuitively, and I understand where it comes from, is I want to say something that people like, or that people will respond well to, or that is trendy, or that is popular. Don't. It's my biggest advice. Say something that you feel strongly about, that you believe in. And especially if it's something that, you think would resonate or should resonate with people, but not necessarily in the way that you view it. Because any opinion that is just like black or white or a binary really doesn't survive well through the lens of history, right? So if you have an opinion, make sure that it's nuanced, make sure that you believe it, make sure that it's something you really want to say. That's where you start. And that statement can also evolve throughout your story. You might start by saying, I think this story follows this statement, but while you're building it, you'll actually find out that you're saying something a little bit different because you're exploring it from a different angle. But you still have it as a starting point. And that helps because it anchors you. That's kind of, I always call the theme an anchor, because it literally sets certain things into place and it forces you to examine everything through that lens. So think about the things that you care about and boil them down to their dumbest, shortest statement, right? Or word or anything, a concept. Like in Last Wardens, it was failure, right? And how to chew it up, spit it out, and ask for seconds, like how to get over failure. In Solar Sisters, you're dealing with self-fulfillment versus sacrifice and that balance, right? In Eden Frost, it was identity as a structure and the dangers of weaponizing it against any group of people, right? And in Stomping Grounds, it's about the importance of you have to embrace change, because look at what will happen to you if you don't. So think about the things that you care about, things that you want to say. That's your starting point. And make sure that every character, every plot, and even the world itself, it has to reflect it. It can't just be like in the back of your mind. You have to constantly go, if I live in a world that has these elements in place, how does this theme affect it? If I want to say this, how do I shift the pieces in my world to make sure that it feels correct?
That's good. That is some awesome advice. Thank you so much for that. Last but not least, as like a fellow gamer and movie and TV show enthusiast, what are you up to? What video games are you rocking? What TV shows are you watching? What books are you reading?
All right, let's do this. So right now, right? Because again, for me, you ask me every week, it's going to be something different because I also burn through stuff way too fast. So right now, I just started playing. It's a Polish game, and I'm half Polish, half Slovak. So for me, it's just like, where did this come from? So like, it's a Polish game called Kronos New Dawn. It's amazing. If you like Resident Evil, Dead Space, that Silent Hill, this kind of gameplay and genre, holy shit, this game's a trip. Like it's I don't know if to call it cosmic horror, but it's got a little bit of cosmic horror. It's very surreal. If you're a big fan of those kinds of like high scarcity, I'm a bit of a masochist, right? Like I'm like Elliot got me into Dark Souls, and then I just played and finished every single Dark Souls game out there. So,
it's so good, isn't it?
It's so good.
I remember when I was really big into Twitch streaming, I did a all optional, all mandatory boss, and it was the first time I started with Bloodborne, so I played most of that game without a shield because I was so used to using sword and gun. And it was insane. I could beat Bloodborne blood level 4 now, so waste of skin, and you just upgrade the weapon. Like I love it. I love it.
Awesome. It's awesome. So but it does cause like a certain like itch that you have to scratch. And I feel like some of the Resident Evil games, the ones that are leaning a little bit harder and really deal well with scarcity, are perfect for that. I love being in a situation where I'm like, I have 5 bullets and I'm going to fight this thing. Oh, well, I ran out of everything. Start punching it until it goes down. And then the last punch right before you die, somehow they balanced it so well that you're like, fuck you.
So you should check out the Callisto Protocol, I think is what it's called. It's supposed to be like a Dead Space 4. It's not a Dead Space game, but I think it's from the creators of Dead Space.
Okay, Callisto. Okay, I will look into that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I love it.
It's so yeah, Kronos is the one that I'm playing right now. Afterwards, I want to play Pragmata because the demo was awesome. So that's video game. Again, every week you'll talk to me, it's going to be something different. So in my, by the way, little plug, in my monthly like zine newsletter where I talk about a lot of my projects and a lot of the things that I'm developing. Every once in a while, I also do like recommendation sections. So you'll see whenever I get to include it in, I talk about what games and shows and comics, whatever I'm reading. So that. For a really long time, I'm like 30 something volumes in. I've been reading Berserk. I'm still not all cut up, but that is still such a good manga.
Yeah.
Holy crap. So Berserk, always. And I'm very slow because I'm doing way too much right now. But I'm like 30 something volumes in.
You're close.
I know I'm getting
I
there.
think there's what, like 43?
Yeah. So I know I'm close and I'm slowing down because of that. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is one of the best things in like
I just started it.
Oh my god. I've been telling students about it as well, just because that's one of those like you start watching it and you're like, there it is. There is that envy.
I loved how they started with the ending of their journey as the first episode. I was like, this is such a cool way to do this.
Yeah. I think like the funeral scene, it's not a big spoiler, by the way. The funeral scene in episode 1 is such a masterclass.
Yeah.
They do so little animation-wise, but direction-wise and writing-wise and pacing, the amount of heavy lifting. There's not even music in it. It's such a wonderful choice.
How did the guy shrink? I feel like he was like, and then like,
I know. I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to let that go.
Yeah, we'll let this slide.
And like he's almost like the dwarf size at this point, but you know what? That's fine. I guess you're making a statement about you shrinking with age. That's cute. So that one is absolutely fantastic. This season of Invincible is freaking badass. Like if you have me talk about like media stuff all day, I am gonna throw one thing out there. If you're like me and you're a total psycho and you're just a glutton for punishment, one of the best animes and just TV shows that I've watched last year in general is one that is called Takopi's Original Sin. And I am not going to say anything about it. I am going to warn you. It's rough. It's rough. It's rough in a very specific way because it deals with bullying. It deals with abuse. Like it is so trigger warnings, know what you're getting into. But for everybody else that's a sicko like me, I will pitch it to you like this. It's Kirby meets domestic abuse. That is it.
Ooh.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, so each week I watch, I was watching Demon Slayer. It's my second time watching it. I watched it with my wife, and then my daughter got into it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then we started the Freon, and it was so good. I can't wait for, watch it with it. It's hard to not to watch it without her. But I'm a huge fan of very gory and very horrific anime. Anything where it gets just like the bloodier, the better.
I will say Takopi doesn't get that bloody, and yet it's darker than anything I have seen. I'm reading Berserk, and I can say no, Berserk is gentler than
what was it, Don or Dan? Like that doesn't get bloody or gory, but oh my god, I loved it. Fantastic. I love it. Yeah, it's so good.
Paradise is also really good.
Yes. And then there's this other one. It's like in a trash world. I don't know how to say it. It's like Gacha Gucci. I can't say it either. It is so good though. It is so good.
It's a lot of fun. I've only like seen 10 episodes so far, but it has been a lot of fun. Also, Sentenced to be a Hero started off really well.
That was we were gonna watch that one, and we ended up going with the Freon.
Freon is unbelievable.
Or Freon, yeah, absolutely.
It's just fantastic.
So, with that being said, guys, it is time for us to wrap up. Be sure to check out the pre-order link to Solar Sisters from Paper Cuts. Get that in. Get it on your shelf, and check out those Kickstarters as well. Sign up for the pre-launches and back when you can. If you're unable to back, put it on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth is 100% free. With that being said, it is time for us to wrap up. I hope you all have a lovely Friday, but most importantly, keep it geeky.